Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of the Star Wars universe seems to be quite expansive, not just with their new comics, books, novels, and video games, but also, let's not forget about the new Star Wars TV shows, the new Star Wars movies that are currently in the works, along with a handful of other projects by George, John, and Dave that's really going to lend itself to Star Wars Legends and exactly what Bob Iger right now has in stock for the future of the Star Wars universe at hand. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about the new universe between, of course, George, John, and Dave is that it's all about balance, right? It's all about how they're going to be able to balance both Legends and the current Star Wars canon together, and exactly how it's going to really be able to, cater to all types of fans. New fans, hardcore, casual fans, you name it. Now, as you all know, Bob Iger is now the new Disney CEO. He took over Bob Chapek after Chapek was fired. And there's a lot of recent developments and changes happening to the Star Wars roadmap. Not necessarily a bad thing. Well, maybe, but who knows. But I personally think it's a great thing, and we're going to tap into exactly what Iger is currently changing and exactly what his plans are for the future for the next couple of years when it comes to Star Wars. So, with that being said, what's really intriguing about Iger is that you guys may or may not be aware is that Iger and Chapek had a very awkward falling out back in 2020. And an awkward transition back then, and yes, again, even now. Now, on top of this, what's even all the more involved about the whole Iger-Chapek situation is that with both Disney and Lucasfilm now getting ready to develop new Star Wars TV shows and movies for the franchise with announcements next year, new Disney CEO Bob Iger has some big plans for the future. Now, it's noted that one big change that Bob Iger is currently pushing with the board right now is a new format for the Star Wars franchise by releasing 2 Star Wars movies a year and limiting the amount of shows for a couple of years to focus on films again. Bob Iger is said to have a full mapped-out plan described that with 2 Star Wars trilogies in the works meant for the theaters, one of which being an Old Republic movie trilogy, of course, and the return of episodic films as well. They are also going to focus on one-off films. The plan by Iger for each year to feature one trilogy installment, followed by an unrelated standalone film, just like what they did with Episode 7, followed by Rogue One and The Last Jedi, then followed up with the Han Solo movie. Iger is described to also be picking up Chapek's plan to bring in a series of Star Wars movies on Disney Plus that will be considered a Mandalorian trilogy that will serve as a new sequel trilogy in a sense. So let me just pause here quick for a second. Now, this obviously has a lot to do with Iger kind of tweaking Chapek's original plan for the Star Wars franchise and exactly where it was all going. Now, one thing that we already know is that Chapek had a lot of plans, pretty much imprinted within the roadmap of Star Wars. Basically, what he wanted to do was Chapek wanted to focus on a lot of Star Wars TV shows and a couple of Star Wars films, and now what Iger wants to do eventually is put out more Star Wars movies with a couple of Star Wars TV shows to supplement them. Now, I think that when you look at something like that, a lot of fans are going to have different opinions about that. Some fans have grown to actually enjoy and like Star Wars TV shows instead of the films. But I think that Star Wars belongs in the theaters. That's just my take on things. I really do. I feel like that there's no other fun experience than going to the theater and watching a Star Wars movie with other people and other fans and seeing how other people react to the movie. It's just a whole different experience. And let's not forget that it's hyped up in a different way. It's also a different system because any common moviegoer can go ahead and see this movie and support the franchise. Whether you're, a common moviegoer that knows nothing about Star Wars and you want to get into the franchise, or if you're a hardcore fan, you can buy 3, 4, 5 tickets and see it 5 times. It's a great system when it comes to the theaters because it can give them more revenue. It makes a lot of sense why Iger would want to make more movies again, instead of just TV shows, where TV shows rely on subscriptions only. And with Disney now raising their annual fee of Disney Plus to, I believe it's $109 a year starting soon, just to let you know, I'm not quite sure if they're going to keep on getting the regular flow of new subscribers. It's going to be interesting to see. So on top of this, what's even all the more intriguing about this whole entire plan by Bob Iger is he's focusing on 2 trilogies, as we discussed before. They have been in the works in the early development phase for a while now. One of which Old Republic, the other of which episodic films again. And followed by movies going on Disney Plus as well to test things and experiment things. But TV shows themselves are not going anywhere. They're just not going to be making a ton of them, like originally planned by Chapek. So on top of this too, alright, this, of course, is not getting cancelled by Iger in any way, with Iger now focused on the return of Star Wars to the theaters, and only lessening the amount of TV shows eventually. This is most likely in response to bring in more revenue, like I say, for the Disney company through repeat ticket purchases for blockbuster movies that will be made in high quality for the fandom to enjoy. Disney is also focused on only hiring experienced creators from now on for the new films. Iger will be making some tweaks to Chapek's previous plan as well for the return of movies in theaters. So this is not to say, or this is not to get confused with the fact that TV shows are getting cancelled. That's not happening. You know, we're not going to get like 1 TV show a year or anything like that. What they're doing is that, in the grand scheme of things, their grand plan, they just want to lessen the amount of TV shows coming in and really just focus their energy more so on movies again. That's their game plan right now. Do I think it's a good game plan? It all depends on the quality of those movies and exactly how they work with the audience, how they're executed. And I think that as long as they really stick to the right writers, directors, and producers, they've really got a shot. You know, they could very well be unbeatable if Disney really plays their cards right, and they can really gain a lot of confidence within the Star Wars fandom, without a doubt. So that brings us to the one other thing that I do want to bring up, is that this will not involve Kathleen Kennedy. Bob Iger is in no way reinstating Kathleen Kennedy's creative input. That thing done by Chapek will remain, so she's not going to be involved in those movies, as Iger already has a full mapped out plan of getting rid of Kathleen Kennedy by 2023. Alright, we've talked about this before too for a couple of months now. So there's a lot of things happening, there's a lot of recent developments over at Disney to really kind of fix the franchise, to really bring it back to the theaters, focus more so on theatrical films and high budget Star Wars projects. So overall, guys, you know, I think that we're heading in a better direction. Even though it is Bob Iger, I get it, I'm not a fan of him. It seems like he's either A, getting desperate, or B, is being very genuine to the fandom. I guess take your pick on that, right? So anyways, guys, you know, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.